Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for April 10th, 2026. I'm Benji Fisher, sharing my screen and moderating, and also present are Simo Helston and Ralph Kohler. Thank you both for joining. So we'll start today with this issue 3133175. Change menu link content label to menu link text instead of menu link title. And I'm afraid this is an example of Drupal's bike shedding. This issue has been around almost 6 years, and it seems like a pretty small change, and we can't seem to decide whether to do it or not. So I haven't looked at this issue recently, so let's read through the description. I'm not a native English speaking, but also the label link for the URL or path seems a bit unprecise to me. I thought link refers to the whole thing, something that consists of a clickable object, a URL/path it points to, and maybe more. If I'm correct on that, this label should rather be URL/path or so. In CK Editor, it's called URL. In D7, it was path. So I guess this was somewhere discussed already when it was changed to link in D8. So let's see. From the screenshot, um, it looks like we're editing a menu. So let me go to my test install. This just has the main branch of Drupal installed. I already shared the link in the Zoom chat. Log in as admin/admin. And Pallavi Singh has also joined us. Hi, Pallavi. Um, so let's see. I think we're supposed to go to structure, menus, get my password managers out of the way, main navigation, and add a link. And this seems to be what we're talking about. That's where the screenshot is coming from, right? Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And oh, let's just for the sake of make sure that we know what we're doing, let's add a actual link here. The title will be Drupal, and it'll be an external link. And so when I do that, if I then go to the front page of the site, we get this extra link. The link text is Drupal, and the link goes to the Drupal homepage. So I could go back and edit that. Um, so I guess first of all, any questions about the context to understand what the menu link is doing and where the confusion arises? Don't see any questions. So any opinions? Do you agree that this should not be labeled link? No opinions?
No, the issue is not about changing the label for link for the link field, but rather the label of menu link title to menu link text. That is what the issue is about.
Thank you. Right. Menu link text and link. I guess
But
maybe I'm letting my own opinion show through here. I actually think that link uh, is the worst offender. That should be something like URL or path. Go ahead, Ralph.
Um, just from a what I think is a bit redundant is basically the H1 is about edit menu link. So the overall context is set, and therefore I'm not sure if menu link title, the menu link, the prefix is necessary at all, and if it wouldn't be better simply to use title, or for example, if you terminology wise and just quickly search, it's basically link text and link. That would be from not in a Drupal context, but overall context, maybe the more appropriate terminology for those concepts.
Okay, so you're suggesting that we change both of them,
Yeah.
and you're suggesting making this link text or just text?
Text I would consider confusing. I would rather either link text or title or label. Um, I have no strong opinion yet, but I just think menu link as prefix is overly redundant and unnecessary.
Something like that. So I have a feeling that we have discussed this issue before. Let me see. There aren't any usability issues linked to this one. Um, have I commented? No, I haven't commented on this issue before. So maybe I'm thinking of some other related issue.
I think we should try to align this with a link field so that it like I'm checking this is a Drupal 11 site, so I think it's the link has URL and link text as labels, so I think it should match what we have on link fields.
Okay, so let me see if we add a link field to the page content type, then we can compare.
Of course, it might be that both have not so good texts
Yeah.
or not so good labels, but I think at least they should be consistent.
One question, I think you already did that, but is it possible to have a external link as well in the menu?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. I
just for
put in,
clarification.
and I guess the help text is kind of long, which is not a good thing, but start typing the title of a piece of content to select it. You can also enter an internal path, such as /node/add, or an external URL. And there are some other options.
This text seems to be the same that we have for URL in link field.
And they're in the other order. And this looks like the same help text.
Yes.
Okay, I think Simo has a good point that um, consistency is good UX. and we should try to make these closer to each other. So, given that this issue has been around again since 2020, nearly 6 years, um, I think as a first step, we might agree to make it consistent with the link field and make them URL and link text. Um, and then perhaps as a follow-up, we could ask that um, instead of URL, we make it context sensitive, and depending on the settings, um, make it URL or path. If internal and external links are both allowed, make it just URL. If it's restricted to external links, make it path for internal links. And also make the help text context sensitive. In fact, I wonder, is the help text already context sensitive? If
Yeah.
I edit that field and only allow internal links, does the help text change? Yes, the help text does change.
Oh.
That's nice. Oh, and also I have a value in here that's now no longer allowed. So uh, how did I end up here? Oh, that's right. That's how I ended up here. I was editing a node, and I can't save because I didn't give it a title. And because this is umami, display is controlled by layout builder, which is why I don't automatically see the link um, when I view the node. Um, and I don't love this. When did that happen? Um, that this is the home page of my site that gets added here. But anyway, this help text is context sensitive. It depends on the settings of the field. That's nice. Um, it still says URL. I think that should change, and it uses link text. So I'm inclined to say for this issue, let's make it consistent with the link field as Simo suggested. Agree, disagree? Get a thumbs up from Ralph.
And I suggested it.
Okay. Fluffy, opinions? Okay. I guess later today, I'll browse through the existing comments on the issue. I guess it's not too bad. 69 comments. Um, and I will leave a comment uh, giving our suggestion unless someone else is eager to do that instead of me. Shall we move on?
Oh, yep.
Okay. And yeah, Ralph, you and I have been discussing in Slack some issues related to content moderation. I think you recently filed an issue about that. Can you give
I've
us a link to
updated
that?
it basically. 1 second, I have to search.
And while you do that, I will enable content moderation on this test site. Do, 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 do.
There it is.
Oh, that's right. This is Umami, so content moderation is already enabled. So much the better. And thank you for the link.
It's basically 1 second. I also look up the other link. Initially, the scope for the issue I've just posted was just about content moderation and workspaces module installed. Then Ubenchi found the following issue also, which is 3541380. And that is about basically the behavior with content moderation and workspaces installed, but it turned out in my testing for the summarization of the two meetings we had that basically also with just content moderation, you also have problems. And so those two issues are intertwined, basically, from my perspective.
Right. So again, this is 3541380. The node edit form always uses published revision when using content moderation in workspaces. And the newer issue that Ralph filed is 3580791. The edit button for a node on the content list page is forwarding to a different revision on the node edit form. So I'd like to start with this one. I'm pretty sure that there's an actual bug uh, when the workspaces module is involved. That's the other issue. But I'd like to start with this issue and just look at what happens when just content moderation is enabled.
Yep.
Um, so I guess if we go back to our site and look at admin
Content
content,
and simply create a new content item.
um, okay, we could start with one of the existing ones since it's Umami, but shall we edit a page? I
Or
guess
an
that's the
article,
simplest.
doesn't matter.
Uh, New page
V1, yeah.
V1, and I'll also put in how many times do you have to tab to get here? Uh, Initial revision draft. This is a draft. V1.
Scroll down and yeah, it's draft and save.
Okay.
Now edit. And published, exactly.
And then in our previous tests, we've created a third revision by reverting the initial, but I think we'll get the same results with
If
a
you go
little
to
less
draft here,
confusion. Yes.
exactly. It's basically the point is as soon as there's a current revision that is published and you create forward revisions, either a draft or a revert to a past revision, then the problems set in.
If I were a better typist, don't we all? So now we can see on the revisions page, um, this is some recent addition to the navigation module that I haven't looked at before. Um, it shows the title of the published revision, and in this green pill it says published, draft available. Um, do you see that on the edit page or the, oh, here on the, I guess this is the view page. I'm viewing, I'm viewing node 21 latest. So I'm looking at the latest revision. Ah, interesting. I wasn't even aware of that path, the latest path. So here's the title, and it's a draft, so that's describing the vision I'm looking at.
Yep.
Um, and this is, as you can see, this is the draft revision. It's V3. So that all makes sense.
The breadcrumb looks a bit strange. It kind of makes sense, but it kind of it takes some time to understand what it means.
Yes. So this is a link to the published version, also known as the default revision. I think that's the terminology used here.
Current revision it is.
Current revision. Eh. So the most recent published revision is called the current revision. Um,
And everything above that current revision is basically the forward revisions, and everything underneath are past revisions. That is the terminology used on that Lollaport article Gareth
yes,
shared.
that makes sense. Yes. Um, so there are various things that could be improved on this page, and maybe we should open a separate issue to talk about that. But for this issue, do you have any screenshots? No.
No, just the steps to reproduce. And it's simple. If you could go back to the page you're on and switch to the content in the sidebar, the top level menu item content.
So let me
In the
do
side.
that in yet
Okay.
another
Sorry.
tab.
Exactly. If you see here, you have now here the new page V2.
Right. So that is a link to the current revision, the published version. And I think you can see in the lower left corner of my screen, it goes to /node/21.
If you click that, for example, you're forwarded to the new page V2. But if you move back now one step
Mm-hmm.
and go to the edit, you're getting forward to the forward revision, which is completely misleading and wrong from my perspective. It is not what is basically advertised here, because you could still, if you can move back one step, please,
Mm-hmm.
because basically and scroll up that you're able to see these. Yeah, exactly. Because basically, you still would have the possibility for at the moment you have basically a draft which is V3, which is a forward revision, but still there would be the possibility that you want to basically have another forward revision based on that V2, and if you go on to edit and then basically make changes and then save, then you would create a V4, which is also a forward revision, but that way you're an you're unable to reach that basically V2, which is basically it's wrong from my perspective. In particular, if you take into consideration and could you move click onto the moderated content tab, please?
Mhm.
In here you have new page V3, and if you click edit,
So edit goes to the same thing.
it is correct. So basically, that is the point I tried to make on basically the Slack conversation in the end. From my perspective, both both views point to the forward revision of the node in question while with the content moderation module installed. And as soon as you install content moderation and workspaces alongside, both views point to the current revision instead.
No, no, Ralph,
Yeah.
stop talking about workspaces. Let's just
Yeah.
look at the
No,
current situation for now.
no, the point I just wanted to make is basically if it would be the expected behavior, basically, then that behavior shouldn't change. And with workspaces, it shifts around. And yeah, anyway, let's stick to content moderation and leave workspaces out for now.
Thank you. Um, okay, so my understanding is that the revision history has to be linear. Drupal, revisions are hard enough as it is. And you might think that you could edit the initial draft and have sort of a tree of revisions, and that would make it even more complicated. And Drupal just doesn't support that. So sort of a fundamental aspect of the way Drupal handles revisions is that there's a linear revision history. So, so what that means is that however you get there, from the node edit page, from the content list, from the moderated content list, however you get there, the only thing you're allowed to edit is the most recent revision, which in this case is a forward draft. So I agree there's a lot of confusion here, but the fact that this edit link goes to node slash 21 slash edit, that is the correct behavior. You can't have any other behavior. And node
Um,
slash 21 edit will edit the most recent revision.
uh, just from my understanding, I'm aware you don't want it to bring workspaces in, but so basically with workspaces, that is basically then a bug because there the behavior is that basically each edit on either the overview or the moderated content page forwards you to the current revision, not the forward revision, even though one exists. So there is a bug, but in the context of just content moderation, it is the correct behavior that only the current V3 is editable. Is that correct from my understanding now?
Yes, only the most recent revision can be edited.
So with workspaces, it's a bug. With just content moderation, it's basically the correct behavior, but bad UX.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, now we're getting the, okay. Now I slowly starting to grasp.
So, Simo, Flavi, do you have questions about this now that Ralph and I finally agree? Are you caught up with us?
think so.
Cool. So, okay, so looking at this page, the moderated content, um, I think it actually is not confusing. The link
No.
goes to um, the view of the
Yeah.
latest revision, revision 80. Let me just double check. Pretty sure that's the same as this. Yes, revisions slash 80 slash view. Um, so this link goes to the forward revision in this case. The edit goes to the only thing it can, which is going to edit that revision. So I would say this is not at all confusing.
No, that is the correct behavior. Here, I don't have any complaints. My complaint in the context of just content moderation is the overview page. This is not good.
Right. So this is confusing because this link goes to the published version, which I guess is called the current revision. Yeah, the current revision is the most recent published. So this goes to the current revision. But again, the edit link goes to the only place it can go, which is editing the most recent revision, which in this case is a forward revision. So what could we do to reduce that confusion?
The most pragmatic approach would simply be remove the edit option here. That you're only able to view as soon as there is a forward revision. So, or basically disable it and add some sort of explanation. Not sure how to manage that, but in any way, remove the edit then.
What
Make it
are
not
the other
available.
options? Translate, delete, view. Surprised there's a view option here.
That view is basically the same as if you click the link new page V2.
Yes.
It's the same functionality.
Okay, so that would be a pretty drastic change, but certainly it's something we could consider. And if you remove the edit link, there are alternatives. You can click on the title to view it and then click the edit button. Um, and
Or
and that sort of takes advantage of these recent additions that once you're at the view page, you see this information. Um, so we're looking at a published version, but there is a draft available. I wonder if we could pull some of this information into the content list. Go ahead, Ralph.
um, instead of disabling the edit button or the edit CTA, another option might be also simply call it edit forward draft. So that is basically labeled, um, or maybe then also the view would have to be changed from just view to view current draft. It's more confusing content, label-wise that way, but and introduces more context because that forward and past and current are not really clearly communicated yet. But I think it is necessary. Otherwise, it's problematic to wrap your head around that.
Okay,
I think
go ahead.
yeah, I'm thinking a little bit different approach. Not sure if this, but we have the like in some themes we have that different marking for unpublished content. So if we could have a kind of a mark here somehow with some label or something or badge the content that has new revisions. So there would be information warning that this behaves differently from the others because it has uh, later revisions or forward revisions. So kind of information only.
So I guess you're saying pretty much the same thing that I was saying. Could we bring some of this information
Mm.
into the content list, right?
Yeah.
So for example, we have the status column, um, and maybe we could expand that. Here we go. Published, forward, draft, available. Is that the same language? It just says draft available, not forward draft. So that puts the information in the same row. It's not as immediate as changing the label on the edit button, or the edit link, actually. Um, so Simo, is that about what you had in mind?
Yeah, but I was thinking like putting something closer to the action. So maybe some kind of a badge or something like that, or some kind of a, I don't know what, but I was thinking like some kind of icon, but then icons are not easy because people don't know what they mean. And we never have icons next to those buttons. But
Yeah, and if you just put an icon outside the drop
mm,
button, then you don't know which of these it applies to.
yeah,
If you put it inside the link,
we could change the text to edit draft.
But if it's just graph, then it's from my perspective, I would be confused if I would see simply I'm on basically the page that lists all the published pages mostly, and then see something like instead of edit, I see edit draft, and that way it would be confusing why I'm unable to basically edit the published one.
Mm. But you will be unable to edit the published one also if it doesn't have the edit button.
True. Mm.
or another option, once we are on the edit page, again, this is where I would get if I clicked on that edit link. Um, we have the information that it is a draft, but maybe we should um, give a more prominent message so that I'm suggesting just as an option that instead of making changes here, we leave this alone. But once you click edit, you get here, and maybe we have some more information, perhaps below the title. Uh, this is an unpublished draft. If you want to, if you want to edit the published version, then you first have to revert to that version. That's a horrible explanation, but some sort of text along those lines. Go ahead, Ralph.
Um, I would rather go in the direction what we've discussed in the second meeting discussing content moderation, and that basically that advanced sidebar has to contain in what state it is basically if it's basically a past revision, if it's basically a current revision or a forward revision, and that way also decide also to know which VID, I think that was the correct term you've used, it is, so number 25, for example, and also in case that revision you're looking at is not equal to the current revision, to illustrate A, that there is the current revision, which is the current revision, and also basically a link to the current revision. Or make an option to basically that you either with a contrib module like diff able to see the difference to the current revision and yeah, provide more context to understand where you're at currently. And that way you could save basically a lot of descriptions underneath trying to explain that complicated thing. If basically it's clearly communicated, hey, I'm not on the current published revision that is accessible. I am on a forward draft working on basically changes for that revision. And the revision is XYZ.
You mentioned technical term VID, and I think that's kind of a not per node or per entity ID, but that's site-wide, so that it kind of it's almost the same as node ID, but it kind of diverges. So I'm thinking if we want to have kind of a sequence number of the drafts instead of version ID, because version ID is sometimes a bit nasty to understand.
Oh, because my understanding from the explanations from Benji was that basically you have the node ID, which is, for example, node 3, and then you have the VID for in the context of that node ID, and that would be sequential from 1 to X.
Yeah.
Right. So,
But
so if you hover over these links, you can see it says node/21 slash revisions slash 78. So this is node 21,
uh,
that's the node ID, and revision ID or VID is 78. And
oh,
all three of these will have the same node ID. It'll always be node 21, but this is revision 78.
This is
This
the
is revision
current.
79, although it doesn't show that. And this is revision 80.
But if we
okay,
made another draft for in between for another page, then it would skip one number. The
okay.
next one would be 82. So I think for end user, it might be useful to communicate the kind of uh, this like the how how many revisions are for that particular node.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, that clarifies a lot to me.
So again, when you're editing it, you're always editing the most current revision. So if you know how it works, just the word draft is enough. That tells you that, I guess not quite. I guess there are pages that don't have a published revision, like my test page here, which would also say draft. Um,
I think you simply need, as soon as you have a forward draft, that basically what is the current draft? That is the anchor you need and the information you need alongside.
so we could update both of these and do where not last saved. Here we go. You could say draft, no published revision. In this case, and then in the case where there is a published revision, we could say draft or earlier revision is published. Just not the ideal text, but something along those lines. So we could add some information to this line. Um, it would be nice if we could avoid wrapping. So this somewhat shorter text is nicer that way. But that would give some additional context.
I think the word earlier is a little bit, it's kind of a, maybe we don't need that.
So, you know, before wordsmithing here, is this a useful enough idea that we should bother wordsmithing it?
It could be maybe as that's kind of a same level as last saved. So
Okay.
it could have some information about like as a separate item there.
Ralph, go ahead.
Yeah, that is what I meant basically with have basically one attribute that is, does it have, does this revision have a current revision? Meaning, in case of your example with the page that is not published yet, and then it's a no or just a dash. While in the case like here, you would have, does it have a current revision? Yes, or you could basically link with a clickable link, and that way you know the timestamp, you know basically, or you could use the revision number within that node. Uh, as Simo said, like the sequential one from 1 to, let's say, 22 available ones, then you say current revision is revision number 12, and provide a link. Or in case you have basically the diff module installed, then a toggle that you could basically view that one. But that way it's clear and clearly structured. Hey, we have a draft, and this one is not the current, but a forward revision.
So you always have the option of going to the page of revisions, the revision list. And I don't want to, you know, try to get all the information from this page um, onto here. But you know, a little additional information here could be a good thing. So I kind of like your suggestion instead of adding text the way I have. Um, Let me leave that here for now, but let's see, how can I add a line break here? Can I not? Maybe here we go. If I edit it as HTML, then I can, let me just add a break tag for the purposes of discussion. And then I could have, maybe in a paragraph tab, um, published version. I think maybe that's a little more friendlier than revision. Published version, and then maybe a link to it or the title. new page E2. And then in this case, where there is no published version, published version, not so do you think that would be better than adding this parenthetical bit about no published revision or published revision available?
Mm, Personally, I would definitely prefer the having this published version new page v2 or however it's what will be displayed over basically appending in parentheses a comment to a state.
Okay, so you prefer adding the second line and leaving this one as simply draft
Yeah, it should be clear to read, and everything in parentheses
is clutter.
complicates things. Yeah.
Yes.
And if you have a clear or another option might be if you have at another of those lines aside published version, or you could, yeah, if we go with with the revision numbers, you could, for example, have published version is number version 12, and this or this draft is version 22, for example. And that way, it also communicates in which state you're currently working at. If someone basically is working on the draft, has several saves until then, so you see how far ahead the revisions currently are. But yeah, simply clearly communicate in a way that you, with a glimpse of an eye, are able to see, hey, I'm on a draft. We are not on the current published version. It is, or if it's published at all, and which version and compared we are to that. To simply provide situational awareness and to see where you currently are, and with in particular with what the problem illustrated with that edit buttons is you don't know where you are, and there are false, wrong expectations created that way.
Okay, so I think this is sort of what you're suggesting. One advantage is that the title could be very long, so making the link text the title is sort of problematic, and
Yeah.
having just version 2, version 3,
But I
like that,
wouldn't necessarily put the version 3 again as parentheses. I would have a dedicated point like published version. Um, Current version is problematic again. We couldn't use it here. Um, but I would have it as a separate line, not draft should be standalone from my perspective. And
okay, so you'd rather do something like this. Um, this version is 3, and the published version, do you still want it to be a link or
yeah, that you basically that the user is basically able to get to that and to compare.
something like this?
Yeah, something like that. It's just to provide the context for the user.
And I think that fonts, like the style should be the same as author and last saved. So
Yeah.
the font size and not having the second part in bold.
I'm going to ask you to repeat that in a moment. I think this is the first. Um, so yes, Simo, can you say again what you just said?
So the label style should be the same as the labels last saved, and author and the data should have the same style as the admin or the date.
Yeah.
Yes,
Agreed.
certainly. I'm
Yeah.
just doing what I can do quickly in browser tools. Um, so Ralph, this is what you have in mind?
It goes definitely in the direction, but you basically, with a glimpse of an eye, you see first that the publishing state, it's well, basically not the workflow state, it's its draft. Then you see basically which version you are, and you indirect that way you also see if there is a published version. But basically that way you see if it's a forward revision or or if you're on the current revision, and if you're not on the current revision, what the current revision is. You see last saved and you see the author, and that way you have everything compact. It's well, the micro copy is still debatable, how to address things, but in general, the information necessary, I think that that is the right direction, and I'm a tremendous improvement.
Okay. We're getting close to the end of the hour, so we can still think about other ways to make the content list less confusing. But at least if we add this information to the edit page, it'll help reduce the confusion. Uh, you'll still may or may not know what's going on when you click the edit link, but once you do click that link, you'll have this additional information to help clarify things. So to be continued. Any closing remarks? Oh, I'm sorry. And Ralph, you put a link in the chat to something
Oh
on
yeah.
YouTube. A few good ideas are included here, even though I don't agree with everything, and it has a few serious problems as well.
It's basically a short introductional video, 1 minute 45 seconds, how to compare revisions in WordPress 7.0.
Your last chance to disappear until summer.
Great, I get an advertisement. Maybe I should pay for a non-advertising version of YouTube. Anyway, um, okay, so that's once you get through the ad, uh, a description of how it works in WordPress, which might be worth looking at.
Yeah, it has a few nice inspirations, and
Okay.
just a thought it would be useful for the discussions here as well. Because they basically provide the ability and provide the context and the ability to switch between those revisions on their node editing pages. And also have inline diffs to see basically what the difference is between the different revisions and so forth. So a few nice thoughts there.
Okay. Well, thanks again. And Ralph, will you update the issue you created and
Yeah.
add some
So basically
screenshots?
not a bug anymore, most likely, but yeah, or a UX problem. It is
Right.
definitely. Yeah,
Exactly.
I'll update that, and I'll also work on finishing the summaries for the confirmation page.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, and have a nice
Have
weekend,
a,
everyone.
Yes, we can. Good.
yep.
Bye.